The birth of the Absolute Universe has led to DC overtaking Marvel for the first time this century. Right out the gate, we started this universe with a remixed version of the Caped Crusader, otherwise known as Absolute Batman. With issue number 1 receiving more than 10 reprintings, it's safe to say that people adore this version of the character. However, just because something is popular, it doesn't exactly mean that it's actually good. So strap in everyone, because we're going to dive right into the first 2 volumes of Absolute Batman to figure out whether or not this tale is worth the hype. And of course, spoilers ahead. We begin our story with a flashback, looking at a wonderful day that will soon turn into a tragedy as we see a young Bruce Wayne at the Gotham Zoo, observing the bats before being called over by his father. In this universe, Bruce Wayne lacks the resources and wealth we're so accustomed to him having. Additionally, his father works as a public school teacher, making the Waynes more common folk like you and me, and significantly less oligarchy. Anyway, the story continues as we read the internal thoughts of a man driving through the city. He speaks of the streets, alleys, buildings, and the rest of it as if it was an old friend. Fitting, since the man filling us in is no other than Alfred Pennyworth. We miss you, Alfred. But this Alfred isn't like the one that was suddenly taken from us by Bane. This is an Alfred without the Waynes. This is an Alfred who works for M16, also known as the British Secret Intelligence Service, as an agent of course. And his first task is to look into the Party Animals, a gang currently terrorizing Gotham. Additionally, the agency makes note of one particular individual that Pennyworth is not authorized to engage with. Directly following this, we're introduced to Bruce Wayne, who's built like a damn freight train.
Holy shit! Who the fuck are you?
Don't you recognize me, Joker? It's me, Batman.
No, you're not. You're not Batman, you're Batbrick.
We also find out that Bruce grew up with most of his recognizable rogues, except for Joker, but more on that later, and we're pretty much going through it right now because of the Party Animals. Shortly after this, we're introduced to our overarching villain for this volume, Black Mask, who's more sadistic than his original counterpart, if you could believe that. One attack on City Hall, introduction to this universe's Jim Gordon, and an incredible entrance by Batman later, and we're finally seeing this man put belt to ass. This man wipes the floor with these dudes and ensures that none will enter City Hall. He makes his way towards the rest of the goons as one exclaims,
"This ant has killed more people than you can count. Now I'm gonna give you one chance. Get the fuck out of our way."
To which Batman replies by taking out one of his favorite new toys.
Is that an axe?
And then slices his hand clean off. This Batman is wild, but we're not done with this first issue, folks, as Alfred and Batman officially meet, tussle, and we learn that Martha is still alive in this universe. So this dude did all of that while having a loving mother at home. Jesus Christ. And the last piece of information we learn about is just exactly where Bruce holds his base of operations. You see, since Bruce is a construction worker, he puts his bases at the top of work sites as temporary hiding spots. So instead of a Batcave, he's got a set of Bat Towers. But this wouldn't be complete if I didn't mention that in the epilogue we're introduced to Joker, and this one has all the riches and resources of our original Batman. With the starting points flipped, what will become of this Dark Knight's Gotham? Well, as we go through the issues that follow, we learn some pretty important pieces of information about the world and develop various relationships along the way. For one, we learn about Arkham, a mysterious facility being built on an island scarily near Gotham. We also learn that, with Jim no longer being police commissioner, Batman is public enemy number 1. And probably one of the most important things we could learn is that Martha is working closely with Jim in his political campaign to be re-elected as mayor, even though he's not really in any condition to run, leading to the puppet known as Hamilton Hill to take that spot. All of this leads to a confrontation with Black Mask that doesn't quite go as planned, and Bruce almost dies. However, he learned a valuable lesson, and that's the power of allies. This leads him to reveal his identity to his friends and tries one more time to stop Black Mask. While the fight was a close one, the brutality and edge that Bruce displayed ensured he's able to really stab through his opposition. All that, and he's got a loving mother at home. Please don't forget that. After stopping the madness invoked by Black Mask and successfully stopping the party animals, Batman is taken in by Alfred to get patched up. However, we aren't quite done as we close off the volume with the hint of what's next. We see Joker as he sits in a suit made out of babies as he says, "It's time. Get Bane." And that was The Zoo, a phenomenal introduction to this version of Gotham and the mythos. But what follows is a gut-wrenching saga in Abomination. Volume 2 begins with issue number 7, Absolute Zero. As the name suggests, this is going to be centered around Mr. Freeze. However, this story cuts between the past and present to illustrate a lesson Bruce will have to be reminded of and another he's going to have to learn. We see most of the Crime Alley kids gather around to honor a friend of theirs who recently died. Mitchell matches Malone. And while they discuss what they think could have happened to him or what he was doing prior to his death, the answer arrives with Bruce saying that he was the last person Matches ever saw. Expanding on that, we travel back to that fateful day as Bruce recalls that he was investigating Arkham and had asked Matches to provide him with some forged documents to get into the facility. However, Malone reveals that he actually made his way into the facility and alluded to some weird happenings he kept hearing about. While this angers Bruce, he's not able to hash this out because suddenly Matches' face erupts with blood oozing through each of his pores. A painful death for an old friend. Even so, there's no real time to mourn for Batman, as he investigates one of the names in a list he found through a video on Match's phone. He makes his way to VCore Industries to see if he could figure anything else out through Freeze. Except he was woefully unprepared for the horrors of the young scientist and the monster he became, dragging him to the land of ice. Absolute Zero continues in the next issue, which sees Bruce fighting for his life and against Freeze and his monsters. While he doesn't exactly win the fight, he's reminded of a lesson his friend drilled into him: survive. But we wouldn't have a story if after a moment of calm, a haunting turn didn't take place. And boy, does it turn. With Waylon kidnapped and missing, Bruce hunts for any clues, brutally so. And at the same time, we're introduced to one of my goats, Dick Grayson, who's working as an EMT and really doesn't like Batman. Eventually, Bruce is able to find Arkham through an underwater entrance, and it is, to put it lightly, daunting. But while he walks the seemingly empty halls, he's greeted by our main threat for the volume, Bane. And to say that what happens to Bruce here is a travesty, yeah, that would be underselling it. And instead of showing it to you so you can go ahead and experience it for yourself, here's a meme that perfectly exemplifies how you'll feel when you get there. And to keep things concise, yet hopefully enticing, the most important things that we draw from issues 10 and 11 are the facts that Arkham is a facility aimed at experimenting on people and creating the next Bane, which they believe Bruce could be just that. Additionally, we get the first snippets of other villains like Clayface and Poison Ivy, but the most important point of all is that when Bruce escapes with a mutated Waylon, Bane finally begins his journey proper, to break the Bat. Folks, I can tell you that we won't have the same classic back-breaking time with this one. Instead, Bane pulls a Green Goblin and aims for Bruce's heart, the Crime Alley kids. And let's just say that what happens to them leads to the creation of their well-known alter egos in albeit gruesome ways, and it takes Bruce down a spiral. However, we need to take a second to address and understand Bane. You see, this Bane is one that is borderline a carbon copy of the main continuity one. However, the main difference is that he interacts with the Joker who was waiting for him on the beach after his escape from Santa Prisca. While there, he gives Bane an offer that we later find out ensures the safety and peace of his homeland and its people, all for the price of killing his beloved father and becoming the monster. As for why the former would be a part of the deal, I'd wager that he simply thought it'd be funny to see. Anyway, we continue the story with Bruce's friends rejecting him after their horrifying mutilations. Bruce is also dealing with venom in his system, and we're finally introduced to Catwoman, who's got a fishbowl for a helmet. Oh, and Bruce and Selina have a very intimate encounter. But once the afterglow fades, the duo realizes that 2 vigilantes, a giant crocodile monster, and an M16 agent aren't enough to take down Bane. so they enlist the help of one Harley Quinn and her Red Hood gang. Once all the pieces are placed and set, there's only one thing left to do.
I'm talking to you, Bane, you little shit. I know you're listening. Tomorrow, midnight, the Old Veterans Arena, you and me alone. You win, I'll go back to Arkham and become whatever you want. But you won't win, and you, people of Gotham, you get to watch.
After making himself known to the public and challenging Bane in one last fight, we get our final issue, where we see the efforts of Batman and the rest teeter between success and utter failure. But by sheer will and determination, Bane is defeated, and that would be it if we didn't have one more detail to address. You see, Bane has been operating as an agent of destruction for the Joker, and the actual purpose of making another Bane by way of Bruce is so that he could successfully complete his time working for him. As a result, he would be given peace in Santa Prisca with his wife and child. But since that didn't happen, let's just say the Joker eliminated that possible distraction. And that concludes Volume 2. Now, while the issues for Volume 3 have wrapped up, I think that covering the series in pairs is pretty nice for pacing and makes sure that I don't balloon the video to a point that feels insurmountable. So we'll come back to the series once the issues for Volume 4 have wrapped up. But what are my thoughts on the series so far, and is Absolute Batman overrated? Nope, not even a little bit. Absolute Batman is one of those times where the hype matches the quality of the product, and here's why. Scott Snyder, what a guy. What this man has hatched up in his brain for what an underdog Batman is and what sick fuckery is going to occur throughout that to make this hero truly what he's supposed to be in this particular universe? Chef's kiss. The differences between the mainline characters and setups are, well, plentiful, and they're welcomed by readers such as myself. Of course, this leads to new stories and scenarios that push this Bruce to uncharted areas of violence and turmoil that make seeing him win just that much more satisfying. The art for these books? Fantastic. Marcos Martin, Clay Mann, Nick Dragata, and Gabriel Walta all work phenomenally with their pencils. The sizing, designs, detailing, and grimy look of everything perfectly illustrates the feeling present in all of Gotham and our main character. It can also be uniquely warm and comforting in certain scenes, which brings to light why it's worth fighting the fight that Batman is waging. So what do you think? Is Absolute Batman just aura moments and grotesque violence? Or is it a refreshing reconstruction of the character and his mythos that warrants all the praise and devotion it's received? I'd love to have a conversation with you about it, so leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this comic book centered video, consider subscribing and leaving a like. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. It's your boy Foster, and I hope you have a good day and a good night.